This is WPSL Port St. Lucie.
The views expressed on the following program are not necessarily those of WPSL. However, we're the ones who've encouraged you all along to like and share them on your favorite social media and with all your friends and neighbors, because Joanne's Nutrition World in downtown Fort Pierce at this time presents Joanne's World of Nutrition with the one and only Joanne Seeger.
I never get old of that intro. Wow. Good morning, everybody.
I talk in my
Happy
sleep to keep it
Wednesday. You're so good. Perfect engineer. All right, everyone. It's Wednesday. It's radio show time. Thank you for spending some time with me this morning. I really appreciate it. And I really mean that because I know how crazy life can get, multitasking and work and cleaning. Oh, cleaning. I've been cleaning so much. I'm hosting Easter. Whew, I actually even painted my staircase. So, all right. But without further ado, it's that time. It's that one time a month that I have an amazing guest on that is just so insightful, has lots of great info. So if you're joining us for the first time, you definitely want to get your pens and paper ready. So good morning, Burt. How are you this morning?
I'm doing great. How are you?
Good. I swear I didn't have any caffeine, but I feel a little hyped up. So, Burt Goulding Jr., he is a clinical nutritionist. He joins us once a month from sunny California. I assume it's sunny right now, Burt. Is it sunny?
Not too bad, yes.
Not too bad. All right. Yes, I've been doing a lot of cleaning, a lot of cleaning. And, I have a staircase that's really steep, and I ripped carpeting off it like, oh my gosh, like a year ago. And I was like, okay, I can tackle this staircase. I can sand it and just paint it and making it look like those quick Instagram videos where they show you like a 30-second synapses of, oh, this ugly carpet staircase, and now it's gorgeous and painted and it looks gorgeous, right? It's so much work. Pulling the staple, sanding it, putting putty in it, and the paint. And so it only took a year, but I think it's done now.
Funny how they don't show you all that extra hard work.
Oh, I mean, my hands, like, oh my gosh, like, and I did it like in stages. Obviously, it's a year, and I have done tons of coats of paint because, we had tons of kids and dogs and life, but gosh, it's a lot of work, Bert. I'm kind of tired.
Yes.
So, and then I have one more story. You ready for this one, Bert? So, you know how those movies have those scenes where if someone like went on the airplane, like say they missed the airplane because of traffic, and they said, it's definitely a God thing because the whole plane went down and they missed their plane, right? So I definitely have one of those God moments. I dropped off my granddaughter, but my daughter-in-law was 5 minutes late in getting her, so I was held back by 5 minutes. I go back on the highway, and I have a new vehicle that has all those fancy bells and whistles. It warns you about like an ant crossing the road, right? And I'm looking straight ahead on 95, and I'm seeing the warning in front of me, and I'm like, what the heck? And I'm listening to my music. I don't hear anything. From the corner of my eye, I see a U-Haul with its airbag off and like a bunch of people standing there, and I quickly look in front of me. The car literally puts me into the next lane on its own, okay, because I got a good car, right? And the light post, the U-Haul had hit the light post. It fell on 95, and I would have ran right into it. And so if I was 5 minutes earlier, supposedly that's when the accident happened, I could have been crushed by that light post.
Wow.
So, so I'm very happy I'm here. Very happy.
Yeah, yeah.
We can have this show together, Bert. All right. So do you guys celebrate Easter?
Yes.
All right. So who's hosting it? One of your 30 kids or you?
No, nobody's coming over this time. It's kind of a rotation, so I think they're going to be with their in-laws.
Oh,
But
okay. Oh, that's right. You mentioned that every other. Okay. So just a quiet Easter for you guys.
yes,
All right. Well, I might end up flying to California and joining you guys. Mine is not going to be quiet. It's going to be crazy and messy and lots of cooking and cleaning. So, okay. Well, enough catching up. Bert, I have a health rant. You ready for this? And I need your help understanding this. So, I've been blessed with lots of clients this week, and some of them are walking out of the hospitals after heart attacks. Luckily, they're walking out of the hospitals, and I know our medical system is really set up well for cardiovascular events, but they're leaving with like 15 new medications. And I'm trying to be well versed in this, but I feel like I need another 10 years to really understand all these drugs. And I don't pretend that I understand them, but the one client was having such serious side effects of the medications. So I said, you know what? Let me kind of make a spreadsheet with them. Let's just use logic with this and go from there. So I wrote down all the meds and all the side effects and the common ones. I didn't even do the ones that weren't common, which were pretty scary there, right? And it's like 3 to lower blood pressure, and then another one to bring it up because 2 of them bring it too low, and so they need one to bring it up, and then one diuretic, and then another diuretic because the one diuretic is going to lower the potassium too much, and then one's, lowering sodium too much, one's to bring back the sodium. Holy moly. I mean, isn't this crazy? Like, so can you rant with me? Like, what are your thoughts on this insanity? I wrote them all down right here, because I'm like headaches, dizziness, kidney damage, swelling, hives, leg cramps, feeling tired, and kidney damage was like on 5 of them. Like, so what are your thoughts on all that mess? Yeah.
Well, I often will try to explain the difference between dietary supplements and pharmaceutical medications. And it's that the supplements are empowering the human body to accomplish what it wants to. The medications are forcing it. So the side effects are more like what would happen if somebody grabbed you, kidnapped you, threw you in a van, masked men kidnap you, and the entire time you're trying to figure out, at my first opportunity, I'm getting out of here. Even if the van's going 60 miles an hour down the road, if I can get to the door and open a little bit, I'm diving out there. So the harmful part of these side effects is that to get away from someone who's trying to force you to do something you don't want to do, you're going to end up, possibly injured, diving out of this van because you've been kidnapped. That's really the best way I can explain what's going on with medication,
That's a
because
great analogy.
and so with dietary supplements, there are no side effects. And I've talked to several doctors at different conferences that have said, oh yeah, everything has side effects, especially supplements. And yes, they teach us that supplements have side effects just like pharmaceutical drugs. Well, they don't, but that's an interesting thing to say. Instead, it's just empowering the body to do what, it's like saying, here's an airline ticket that I can't use. You can go turn it in, get your own ticket, and go anywhere you want in the world. That's what dietary supplements are. And then you're going, okay, where do I want to go? And I'll go do that. And thank you for the free ticket. Whereas with medications, you see all of these things, the headaches and everything else, the body is fighting desperately to get away from these chemicals that are forcing you to do something that your body knows it should not be doing. To force a person to bring down blood pressure, what if that higher blood pressure is the only thing that's keeping you alive?
Right,
Your
exactly.
your body's creating the higher blood pressure. I mean, what do we think? I mean, it's kind of like people saying, well, I'm really high in cholesterol. You find out that 75% of cholesterol in everyone is made by your own liver. So
Yep.
then you're saying, well, yeah, but my liver doesn't know what it's doing. And you do?
I know, right? I know, and they do that with the glucose too. They drive it so low, and then someone's getting up at 2 o'clock in the morning having, major sweets to bring it back up, and they have this pattern, and I'm like, that's not good, right?
Yeah,
But
yeah.
like I think we both try to convince our clients is that prevention is so much easier than treatment, right? Like just really trying to live the majority of your life with wellness in mind and not kind of just waiting for that, urgent care visit to take notice. So it's just really it baffles me about these drugs though. It's just they're pushing on systems and sometimes I can't see through it. I'm like, I can't tell them to go off, as you well know, and I'm kind of stuck a little bit. So it's like,
Yeah.
how can I get rid of a symptom that your drug is creating, that, in 5 different drugs are creating, headaches and nausea and hives and rashes and baldness. Oh my gosh, and I didn't even realize that baldness, like a simple Google, it will tell you that all these heart meds would create baldness. I bet you that will get some men's attention. They'll start exercising and eating better. So, no offense, Bert, because I mean, you have a lovely, lovely hair. So, yes.
No, it really does mean that your body is using all available silica to try to protect you from whatever poisons are in these in the drugs in the so-called medications, and so you don't have enough silica to keep the hair going.
Yes,
You know?
let's expand on that because I did tell the client that what you taught me a long time ago on the show, that this like you have the super silica liquid, which most of my customers know it's right there on my counter. Um, so you taught us that the silica is stored in the hair itself. And when the body goes through a stress or a trauma or something, it's going to grab onto it to help something inside the body. Can you kind of explain that whole process? Because that made so much sense to me when you taught me that. I was like, oh my gosh, that's why with chemo and heart attacks and pregnancies, that now I understand. So can you tell in case we have some new listeners, the whole story?
Yes, each shaft of hair is like a very, very small drinking straw. Okay, so it's a tube, and a lot of what's stored in it is silica. And so it goes all the way down below the skin on the scalp or on the face if it's eyebrows or wherever hair is on the body. It goes below the skin and there's a follicle there. And that follicle, if you look at it and all the diagrams and all the pictures, it kind of looks like lips that are pressed together around a drinking straw when you're having a smoothie, right? So the follicle will actually suck that silica back in. Now, because of the way a drinking straw works, if you're to be down to the bottom of your smoothie and you're continuing to suck the smoothie through the straw, when there's nothing left in your glass, there's still, some of the smoothie left in the straw. But the part of the smoothie that is empty in the straw is the very end, right? It's furthest away from your mouth or away from the follicle. Okay, and that's why with women and sometimes with men that have longer hair, they're saying, I've got to trim the end of my hair because all of the silica has come out, and so it's like empty straw, even though the hair that's closer to the scalp is not. So what happens is that if you get enough silica, sometimes the body is able to put silica back into that same strand of hair, but most often it just breaks off right at the scalp, and then the body ends up growing a new strand of hair. But when people say my hair is falling out, it's not like it's falling out. It's not like the follicle is like, oh, I let go of it. It's just going to slip out of your scalp. It's breaking off. but because it's breaking off right at the skin, surface, a lot of people are saying, oh, my hair is falling out, my hair is falling out. And it's really just breaking off because it's like a split end that has now lost all of the silica clear down to the surface of the skin. And so it's going to break off because it's so weak. Now, I went to visit a friend in the hospital and actually stayed a couple of nights overnight because his family had, been taking weeks and weeks of trying to not leave him alone. And so they would come in and lie down in the hospital room. And he had what they call a form of cancer, and it's not really, it's multiple myeloma. And the only reason that they try to say, oh, it's a cancer is because then they're allowed by medical rules to use chemotherapy. And this is one of those rare cases I've seen where the chemotherapy actually does a lot of good. But I was in there and he had been on this chemo for so long, because what the chemotherapy does for someone with multiple myeloma, their sinuses have stopped to function. They're not functioning anymore, so they're not separating the mucus out of the blood. So the chemo helps the mucus and the blood separate. And so he had like a little suction thing that he put up to his mouth whenever he had to get rid of mucus. And anyway, what happened is he'd been doing chemo for so long. And so I said to him, I said, Russ, you haven't lost your hair. And he goes, yeah, it's kind of gross. He goes, I haven't brushed it or washed it for the last month at all. He said, because what would happen is that it's so weak. He says, all I have to do is run a brush through it and I would lose 10% of the hair on my head with every brush stroke from a hairbrush. He says, or if I go to wash it and I'm kind of moving it around, it would break off at the surface. Does that make sense?
Yeah. I
So
mean,
he wasn't putting any pressure on it either with his hands or a hairbrush at all, so that it wouldn't break off at the surface. So he still looked like he had his full head of hair. So really what had happened is that when you have chemotherapy, it's such a strong poison, such a severe poison, that your body will use all available silica to protect you from that poison. That's one of the main jobs of the essential trace mineral silica, which is, yes, one of the main components in the supplement super silica, is that you need to have just as much as you possibly can when you've been exposed to poisons of any kind.
well, I remember when we first discussed it, it was because I was having extreme hair loss, and I actually understand that feeling of not wanting to brush or wash your hair because that's when you experience it. And I had never experienced that, not even with my pregnancies. And so it was kind of like shocking me. And then you kind of gave me some comfort during a show saying, Joanne, just do more servings of super silica, which I did, and the hair loss stopped immediately. Like that very day that I started, and I was like, it's like, this is crazy. And I also do believe in, just like in nature where we trim trees down and bushes and flowers, I do always I just got 8 inches cut off. I always do my spring haircut, and then throughout the summer, and then by the fall, it's as long and thick and nice again. So I always tell people, look everywhere in nature. They always take the dead stuff off and then it grows thicker and fuller. So, but I never miss a day of super silica. I absolutely love it. Love it, love it, love it. So
Yeah,
thank you.
I mean, part of that discussion that you were talking about is that the body grows hair wherever it needs to have emergency silica right there. So you end up with eyelashes and eyebrows and that are right there next to the eyes, because the eyes need silica to be able to keep the health of the macula, which is that center part of the retina that covers the optic nerve. And so you've got silica is so important to keep the brain functioning correctly that when we talk about somebody's hair, we're usually talking about the hair that's on their head is the first thing that is kind of like, you say, oh, I like that person's hair. They're not talking about the hair on their arm or on their back. They're talking about, what's on the head, but you've got all of that silica. Now, in ancient times, this was more understood with just common sense living, is that there are writings that say that it was a shame for a woman to have short hair, And everybody can't understand that. And it was because if you're capable of getting pregnant and having a child, you need to have not all the silica that your body needs, but all of that other silica is going to go right into this developing child in the womb. And that means the entire brain is formed from silica that comes from the mother. The entire nervous system and the spine, and there's just huge parts of the human body that just has to be built and has to be developed from plenty of extra or what some people may even consider excess silica, but it's not excess. You need to be able to do all of that. Skin, and I mean, there are a lot of babies in the last 10 years that are being born. When they come out of the womb, they have eczema or psoriasis. Now that
Very
used to,
common now. Very common.
yeah, I know, but that used to be less than a millionth of 1%, just 30, 35 years ago. But if you don't have extra silica in your body and you're helping to build that baby's body, I mean, there's going to be problems. The eyes will not be able to form without sufficient silica. So, it's not to say, I mean, wherever you would need it, I mean, I don't think most people in the United States know that women were not shaving under their underarm. They did not take all the hair off of that until World War I. It was all of these soldiers, U.S. soldiers that came back from Europe, and they were saying, oh, yes, all the French women, they shave under their arms, and I kind of like that. So immediately, the women were saying, oh, I can do that too, I can do it. And they were taking off all the hair. And that's the time that the graph of breast cancer started going up. It's because there was not readily available silica right next to the breast tissue that allowed the poisons to stay there and the breast cancer to become a big thing. So for still today in southern Indiana, most of the women that live in that part of the state, they're in Indiana, don't shave under their arms, which means that the incidence of breast cancer is so low, it's not like anything in the rest of the country.
Well, I'm kind of over shaving, Bert, so I think I'm just gonna grow my silica out. It's just so annoying, so annoying.
Well, and I don't do that to campaign to say, oh, women shouldn't shave under their arms. I'm just saying you're going to have to be so much more careful. A lot of people will say, well, I'm not going to grow hair under my arms. I said, well, then at least get the super silica topical spray. Maybe get it in the larger container where it's called brand new feet, and it's actually brand new feet, brand new arms, brand new underarms. But you can go ahead and spray that on your hand or on a cotton pad and apply that underneath your arms every single day, so that at least if you don't have the silica available stored inside of the hair shaft, because that's all been removed, at least you'll still have silica available when the body goes to that area to try to get the silica to protect you from poisons.
And what Bert's mentioning is so easy to keep in the shower as well. It's this really easy to use bottle. And like he mentioned, it does say feet on it, but you can use it all over. And I spray it right after I turn the water off. And by the time, like, I squeegee my mirror or window, whatever that's called, and it just absorbs in. Just give it a quick little rub and it's perfect. So, guys, we're going to take a quick break, but when we come back, because it is springtime, we're going to have Burt talk about his soil power, because some of us, not me, have gardens, okay? So he'll be discussing it with you gardeners, okay? So just hold on and we'll be right back, everybody. Hi, this is Joanne from Nutrition World and Wellness Center. I am really excited to introduce new guests and topics to my show every Wednesday morning at 10 a.m. here on WPSL, where my listeners can call in on any topic. If I don't know the answer, I'll try to find it. We want to help you become the best version of yourself. We'll have naturopaths, coaches. I am looking forward to sharing my years of experience with my listeners so we can enjoy this life journey together.
Visit Joanne's Nutrition World in the Kras Square, formerly known as the Arcade Building, located at US 1 and Orange Avenue, across from Fort Pierce City Hall. Open Monday through Friday from 10 to 4, Saturdays 10 to 3. Taking appointments for the Wellness Center online at joannesnutritionworld.com or call 772-464-3598. Join Joanne Seeger as she guides the Treasure Coast to health, one person at a time, on Joanne's World of Nutrition, Wednesday mornings at 10 on WPSL.
I am so excited to share with all my listeners all the cutting-edge health topics of today. I look forward to hearing from you. Remember, it's a live call-in show. Any questions you have on health and nutrition, I look forward to answering.
Join us here for Joanne's World of Nutrition every Wednesday morning at 10 on WPSL.
This is WPSL Port St. Lucie, the talk of the Treasure Coast.
And now back to Joanne's World of Nutrition with our special guest, Burt Goulding Jr. And now, once again, here's Joanne Seeger.
Hi, everyone. Thanks for spending some time with us this morning. I have Burt Goulding Jr. here with Positive Power Nutrition. He's a clinical nutritionist, and he is currently talking to us from his home in California. I see you pouring some more water. I always think about you when I'm drinking my water. It's like Burt would be so proud. And my husband is on a fast right now, Burt. He's on his third day. Have you watched that new show with the guy from Thor, Chris Hemsworth, on Netflix? Have you heard of it? So I can't remember what it's called, but Limitless. I think it's Limitless. It's basically a health show. So each episode, he's exploring ways to cut back on his stress levels and anxiety, and it's kind of cool because it's everything that we talk about. The first episode was about breathing, like doing the box breathing, and I love how they act like it's like a new thing. I'm like, I've been telling people that for 20 years, but okay, and then infrared sauna, and then about the sound waves, like all, ions, and what was I getting to? What were we, I just lost my train of thought. So what the heck? All right. I can't remember what I was what I was getting at.
Probably armpit issues.
Oh yeah, right. No.
Armpit
Oh,
anxiety.
armpit anxiety. There we go. Oh my gosh, I lost my train of thought. But yeah, it's kind of great that someone the actor for Thor is kind of telling everyone everyone has anxiety and stress, and there are alternative methods versus just taking, drugs with side effects to help these things. So I have no idea if that's where I was going with it, but there we go. All right, so Burt, I've confessed this many times on the show, but I have an organic produce co-op for a reason at my store because I can't grow the stuff, okay? So I buy it. I enjoy it, I eat it, but yeah, no, I just can't grow things. But before, someone texted me during the commercial break. They said, besides taking the super silica to get this amazing silica that the whole body needs, are there foods that are still plentiful in silica, or does someone definitely have to take the super silica?
No, there are a lot of foods. It's just that, people won't eat it that much. I mean, brown rice, people say, oh, I love brown rice. It still has the hull on it, right? It's not like polished white rice where they've removed, most of everything that's good. But with the brown rice, they say, they would just love it. And I said, well, good. I said, do you have a good sized bowl of brown rice every day, like 7 days a week? Oh, no. I maybe have it once a week. And I go, okay, that's great. It has silica, but it's probably only enough to last a half of a day or a third of a day, and you're only doing it once a week. So, but that's one of the big ones. Raw cabbage. And at our house, we love having raw cabbage coleslaw, and we'll put, in the food processor, we'll shred it up with red beets and, the cabbage and all these wonderful vegetables with it. The cabbage itself, I mean, that's what kept people in South Korea from dying during the Korean War when food was so scarce, is that they would have the kimchi. In Europe, it was the same thing after World War II when people were just starving to death, is they would have sauerkraut because it was a way to prepare the cabbage, and it's fermented in both of those cases, but that's
Bert, I'm
loaded
gonna
with silica.
and I'm gonna interject right there. When I went to Costa Rica 30 years ago, I think, or 25 years ago, the people that were climbing up the palm trees, they only eat the cabbage as their bread source. So like anything that represents like a wrap or something, it was all with cabbage leaves. And they were super strong. Talk about like hours and hours going up and down those trees. Like that was incredible. So lots of silica there.
Yeah, and I didn't talk about it as much, but now my thing that I am having 7 days a week, and I think maybe only 5 days a week now, but for a couple of months it was 7 days a week, I would have lentil barley soup.
You
And,
mentioned it last month, and I
oh my
started doing more
goodness.
lentil soup too. I think I did it 3 times last week.
Yeah, it has so much good silica in, especially in the lentil, but it's more than that. It's an amazing source of protein. It's one of the best sources of natural fiber that blocks the fructose, which is in everything else. I mean, we're not just talking about high fructose corn syrup, but it's the fact that fructose is being added to almost all foods. 85% of the processed foods on the shelf at a store, meaning the whole outside of the store is where you should be eating from. That's the fresh produce and the meats and the fish and all that stuff is on the outside of the store. But as soon as you go into the center aisles, that's all the processed stuff. And they add extra sugar to 85% of the items in the store. And they call it by all different names. There's 64 different names that they can use on the label. But what that does is that means that if you list sugar by 8 different names on the label, it doesn't look like the number one ingredient, and it actually is the number one ingredient
Yep.
in most of these foods. And I hate to even call them foods.
I know they're
Fake foods,
yeah,
and most of these fake foods.
yes,
But
exactly.
silica is available. So for the listener that was asking, are there foods that have it? Yes, lentils have it, a lot of silica. Whole wheat, I've been doing this high fiber bread that the bakery grinds the wheat that same day that they bake the bread. So it stays as
Wow.
wheat kernels until they grind it into flour. And in less than an hour, it's already mixed up in 29 different kinds of wheat bread. But the one I've been doing is a high fiber. It's loaded with flax seeds and chia seeds and all these other things. And they're small enough seeds that when you're eating that slice of bread, I toast it for everything. So when I'm having that high fiber whole wheat bread that's slightly toasted, as I'm eating it, I'm ending up with whole flax seeds and whole chia seeds that are going down into my digestive system. And whole fiber seeds is what's going to slow down the absorption of sugar in your system.
Wow, and that sounds delicious. And I don't think we have any place around here that makes bread like that, but we try at our farmers market to get like the sourdough breads or the imported, wheat berry breads, and it's really challenging. I mean, you have to really make an effort to get healthy bread. But it's worth it because it can be really delicious and nourishing. So,
I sometimes will eat 7 or 8 slices of bread in a day, and a person goes, "Oh no, that's way too much, and that's too much grains and too much starch." And I was like, "Going, I don't know what to tell you except that I've been losing a pound a week, and it's all visceral fat. It's all from the fat around the liver, and so I feel amazing. I've never felt like this before. It's like the next step out of all the times that I've done the True Wellness diet and have lost a lot of weight, but it hasn't really changed everything. But for everyone that's concerned about metabolic health, and especially the number one disease in the world now, affecting over 50% of everyone on the planet, is metabolic syndrome. So
Absolutely.
that means that it has to do with, yes, it might manifest as obesity, which is meaning that the hypothalamus isn't working well. But again, with too much fructose, what it does is it messes up the hypothalamus gland. So that's really the number one thing is other poisons, because there's a lot of poisons in our water and our food and our air. But besides all the poisons that's damaging the hypothalamus gland and most people, it's also the extra sugars that should not be in your body. I've been drinking more whole cow's milk. I know that a lot of people involved in nutrition are like, oh, I would never go to dairy. Well, if you're talking about the milk that's at your local supermarket, I agree with you. It's just totally poisonous. But I go to a dairy where the cows are right there, and it's amazing. People will drive an hour round trip to come and get this milk because real milk is actually known to be used. Real cow's milk, that's raw milk if you can get it, but whole milk is used in Europe for over 50 or 60 years for a cancer treatment.
Yes,
So,
absolutely.
is it real or is it fake? That's what it comes down to. If you're eating fake food, you're going to have fake health.
That's why I love having you on the show because I absolutely agree. It's a lot easier for me to tell a client, listen, just don't put anything into your diet that's not real, and so that means chemical free, no processing, and that it is difficult in some areas, and I understand that, but that's to me like easy to understand. But some people can't agree, like you just discussed, no dairy, carbs, no carbs, meat, like everyone still can have confusion there. But I think we all absolutely understand that no chemicals are meant for the human body. Like they're just not welcome there. So I think that's easier to understand. But
Yeah,
and
I'm
cows
I'm
milk,
still
yeah.
I'm still using your easier to understand how to get water in during the day, which is the 8 ounces every hour on the hour.
I
And I
love that.
try to explain that to people, and they're like, oh, "Okay, well that's easy. That's not much water." And I go, "Okay, good. Think that way. Yes, have your
I feel like I
little
need
cup."
to start selling the little cups out of my office, because at the dollar store they're $1, those little
Mhm.
old-fashioned tiny cups, and they look at it and they're like, "Oh, I can do that an hour." I'm like, "Well, that's what I just mentioned." It's like
Yeah.
nothing. It's nothing. And then they're still having a problem because they're drinking, the sweet tea during the day and the coffee in the morning, the wine or alcoholic beverage at night, and they're wondering why they're falling apart. It's like, all right, you don't have to do a special diet. Just get some water and avoid all those caffeinated, sugary beverages. Let's start there. But
Yeah, I started to laugh because so many of the things you say are very humorous, and I was drinking my water while I was laughing. So that
I
was not
love
good.
it. Should I be a stand-up comedian? That will be my next life. So, yes, and that's what I think I love about my husband is he laughs at all my jokes. It doesn't matter how stupid or silly they are. All right, Bert. So we got to talk about soil power. So we all should be consuming more fresh foods, and again, sometimes difficult in different areas. But it is spring. It is the time that I believe gardeners are supposed to be putting seeds in the soil. So tell us about your soil power and why it's so special.
Yeah, it's sold in either a 1 quart um, container or a 1 gallon container. And what you do is you would put 1 ounce of the soil power liquid into a gallon of water. And that's the right dilution to be able to use it on the soil around plants. Now you're not going to put it in a spray bottle and spray the leaves of the plants. That's not how it works. But for fruit trees, um, I don't know if I told you about the time that I had a good friend there in Florida that had all these expensive palm trees
Oh,
that he put
yes.
around his very expensive house, and then they were dying, and he had tree experts and tree surgeons, everybody come out there and they say there's nothing we can do. And each palm tree was like $30,000, and he was about to lose 5 or 6 palm trees. And he said this is what happens with a lot of times with their products is people go, well, you know, there's no coming back from this. I might as well experiment. I'll just try something. So he tried the soil power, mixed it up properly, put it around the palm trees, and within 3 months they were completely healthy again. So he saved like $150,000 in mature palm trees.
Nice. I hope he bought you a nice present.
You know, I have a good friend who owns a health food store in Alabama, and he has like a 10-acre farm that's not that far from a store. So he spends maybe 1 or 2 days a week working on his farm. And so he had all of his tomato plants already going, and already staked so that they would keep off the ground and grow high. And they were already up to his chin, So he got the soil power, he mixed it up, and he says, well, I'm just going to experiment on my 16 tomato plants, which, always produce a lot of tomatoes. He goes, 3 of them, I'm going to go ahead and put the soil power around the soil. In 3 weeks' time, the 3 that he added the soil power to were 1.5 feet taller. And when it was harvest time, he had 50% more tomatoes on those 3 plants. So this year he said, well, I'm going to go ahead and, buy like 10 gallons from you, because he's going to use it on all of the other crops. It's amazing. We're going to start putting things on our website in the next couple of months of pictures showing the difference between plants that are grown with it and not, but it can be used. We have another health food store that works with us in another part of the country, and they have the whole inside of their store is filled with indoor plants. Now, I'm not very good at real indoor plants, and they said, yeah, we started using the soil power, and they just, it's like a jungle. When people come in, there's just all these healthy plants, and they'll ask and say, what did you do? I've never seen such amazing. Well, the soil power, much like the cell power, has stored sunshine in it. So that means for indoor plants, you start using that in the soil around it, and it's getting the same stimulation as if it were getting sunshine outdoors. So it's a wonderful product. It helps with drainage. It helps with clay soil, helping to turn it into something where plants can grow. So trees, vegetables,
Pretty much anything.
flowers, any plant. It's the agricultural grade of cell power. It's not good for animals, not good for people. It's just good for soil. And if you do mix it up with a spray bottle, you spray it over the surface of any standing water, it not only is safe for the fish. Now, again, we're just talking about spraying the top of it, not dumping a gallon into your pond, but it helps get rid of the mosquitoes. Have you tried that yet?
Well, Bert, that's why I was just going to say, so all local listeners, you need to listen really careful to what I'm about to ask Bert, because this part is incredible. So as you know, as a Floridian, we have a big problem with a lot of standing water and mosquitoes. So you can use the soil power in those areas, right?
Yes, everything from a bird bath to a fountain, wherever you're at. You don't have to spray a swimming pool because we put so many chemicals in a swimming pool. But what will happen is that it lowers the surface tension of the water. Okay, the soil power does, and that's one of the reasons that it provides really good drainage for plants. If there's too much water that gets stuck in the root zone of your plants, it'll kill the plant. But when you spray it on top, it lowers the surface tension. Then when the mosquitoes come to land on the water, with their special little feet that keeps them on the top of the water so they can drink the water. Instead, they don't stay on top of the water. They go in, their wings get wet, and they die. Even with all of the breeding ground, with all of the mosquito eggs, they're designed to kind of go down in the bottom of the water. And once they're formed, they come up to the top, and then all the little baby mosquitoes get out. They don't. They end up staying below the surface of the water, and they drown. So that's one part of it, is just to help prepare the water so that it's not a breeding ground or a home for the mosquitoes. But here's the other part. Have you used the Cell Power topical spray on your skin for mosquitoes?
Oh no,
For
because
mosquitoes.
I avoid mosquitoes like at all costs. I will not go out. So, they spray with those toxic chemicals in our neighborhoods because
Yeah,
that's how bad they are. So I don't go out with dawn or dusk at all
yeah.
because I am so vulnerable. So,
Well, for people that are around mosquitoes, we had one of our production plant employees here that went back to visit family in Texas. So they were back there and they said they're having a family picnic, and with the picnic tables and all of the just where they were at, the air was just so thick with mosquitoes you could hardly see through it. Okay, I know it sounds terrible, right?
Yeah.
So he went ahead and on all of his exposed skin before he went outdoors, he went ahead and took the CellPower topical spray, sprayed it on the skin, rubbed it in, and when he went out there, he didn't have. Not only did he have not one single mosquito bite, and all of his relatives were getting like 100 bites each, but they wouldn't even land on his skin. And it's not because CellPower topical spray. I mean, most people keep thinking, oh, I'm going to put some kind of poison on my skin that will keep the mosquitoes away. No, instead, what you're doing is you're energizing it. So to the vision of a mosquito, to their eyes, they're going to see that you're glowing. So you're like this, whatever glowing creature just filled with energy, like from some science fiction movie. That's to a mosquito's eyes. And so they won't even come anywhere near you. They won't land on you. And other insects, it's the same thing. People are saying, well, yeah, this chiggers won't get on there, and fleas and mites. So it's the fact that insects will go after the weaker animals. It's like the big strong lions that are chasing after the antelopes. You think, oh, well, this lion's so strong, just to prove how tough they are, they're going to go after the strongest, fastest antelope. No, they go after the weakest, slowest antelope. And that's what we're talking about, is we're the prey to the insects.
I'm
Now,
gonna try that, Bert. I'm gonna do that because, we always want to take the dogs for a walk. It happens to be always at dusk, and I'm like, oh no, I'm gonna give that a try because I really, yeah, I hate getting bites. Yeah.
so when you really think about it, this is so amazing to say, okay, I can really turn all of the standing water on my property or that's around me into a mosquito trap, so to speak, right? They're not
Right.
going to survive. Then I can use the CellPower topical spray on all my exposed skin so the mosquitoes won't even line up, won't get bites. But then you think, oh, I forgot to do that before I went out and I got a mosquito bite. A lot of people, it really, it's itchy and it's a big bump and everything. I mean, some kind of allergic reaction. If you take the CellPower spray and spray it on the bite after you've already had it, it's still not too late.
Okay.
It will actually, there'll be the itching goes away. There's no swelling. If it's a really bad one, or if you have a really bad reaction, you may have to take. Some people will take the little CellPower drops and put a full strength drop right on where the mosquito bite is and rub it in. But the fact that it takes away the itchiness and there's no swelling, it really acts like an antidote. And people have done that for spider bites. They've done it with all kinds of things afterwards. We always keep a 1-ounce bottle of CellPower drops, like you'd put in your drinking water, in our first aid kit. Every first aid kit we have,
That's a smart idea. Yeah.
for cuts. I mean, when I am in the kitchen, my wife jokes now that she goes, I'm not going to let you use any of our
No
sharp
knives.
knives in the kitchen, but I'll be in there cutting something and I know it's not right. She used to teach Cub Scouts and she goes, I'm taking away your wood chip authorization to use a knife. But anyway, I'll be in there sometimes and I'm cutting the wrong direction and not really paying attention, and I'll cut in. I mean, we're talking about really serious, like, do we go to the hospital for stitches on this, whatever? And I'll get out our little first aid CellPower, put a couple drops in there, rub it in. It stings like crazy for about 30 seconds. And it's like it helps the healing start immediately. So anyway, kind of got off the topic
That's
a little bit.
okay,
It's the way-
Bert. But you know what? Because we only have 4 minutes left, I do have a question for you from my neighbor. So she is my client, friend, neighbor, and she got this crazy huge ulcer on the inside of her lip. She does have at home like the super silica, the cell power, all the things that we talk about. She's so nervous about it because it's so painful. She literally has lost like 10 pounds in a week because she can't eat anything. She's like, even water hurts. What would you be your thoughts on that? Would she use the CellPower or the Super Silica? It's pretty large. It's like a fingernail size inside of her lip.
Well, in the past, I used to have canker sores all the time, and I don't know, they think people say that's related to stress or whatever. And I would always use the cell power right on it because it would respond really well, the canker sores, to clearing up if I would use grapefruit juice from a fresh grapefruit. In other words, if I just eat grapefruit, it would help take care of that. But I would use it with cell power. But what you're talking about, anything that's flat or indented would be super silica. So I would say in that
Definitely
case,
flat.
I would, yeah, I would do that. It's only if it sticks up. Now, if it was on the other side of the lip outside and it's a fever blister, or if it's in the corner of the mouth and it's a cold sore, that's where cell power is just amazing to bring balance back to that area.
Okay, so I'm going to just help our listeners understand all the language we're using right now. So this is Burt, and he is with Positive Power Nutrition. He's a clinical nutritionist, and each month we discuss some of his cutting edge products that have been around for a long time, over 50 years. And so the Cell Power is a liquid, but also comes in a spray bottle. The Super Silica is a liquid that you can take in your glasses of water, but also comes in a spray bottle. I happen to have them all at my home. I feel like there's a use for each one, different kids, different needs. But if you have any questions, you can contact us at the store, 464-3598, or Positive Power Nutrition has a 1-800 number, 866-722-3733. Burt is really incredibly smart, but he also has the wife that's a naturopath and a staff that's incredible. So if you have any questions about the soil power, the cell power, the super silica, sometimes Burt and I don't realize that you might be a newbie listening to us and we're just on and on about this stuff. But so I'm going to tell her the super silica for that. And should she dilute it just like we do for drinking water or put it straight on?
It's going to sting for about a minute, so straight on. Straight on
Okay,
is
straight
how
on.
it's going to work best.
All right, I'm going to call her after the show. So, Bert, happy Easter. I hope you and your wife, which I did speak to her, she might come on the show sometime soon. I love her. So, you